something that I realized is that we all have a really weird relationship to success. Like, do you guys feel that? I feel like every single time I gain success in some way, shape, or form, I start to pull back and I start to doubt my own potential. Like, we say we want it, but when we actually get it, we feel extremely uncomfortable with it. And the thing is, we don't feel safe being successful. Our relationship to success has so many ups and downs to where success itself feels like a threat. Yeah, I get it. Hello everyone. Welcome back to No BS Nat. I'm your podcast host, Natalie, and this is where I share ways that I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. In this episode, we are talking all about self-sabotage, more specifically, why success feels unsafe. And this is actually a really exciting episode because it is season 2, episode 1 of my new relaunch. For those of you coming back, you guys might have remembered my podcast as Improvement for Imbeciles, and I'm going to be going over why I changed my name to No BS Nat, but this episode talks about self-sabotage because as someone who has self-sabotaged so many different times in relationships, in life, something I see is nobody wants to talk about their failures. Nobody wants to talk about the ways that they've come up short, and nobody wants to talk about how they might have slipped up into old patterns. And I want to talk about it because I feel like for so long I've felt so ashamed of the ways I've self-sabotaged that even talking about it brought up so many different feelings for me. So for everyone watching on YouTube, please be sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on those post notification bells so that way you're notified every single time a No BS Nat episode comes out. So let's talk about it. Okay, what is self-sabotage? How do you identify it in your own life? To put it quite simply, self-sabotage is when you unconsciously block yourself from growing because your brain is wired to choose comfort over change, even if that comfort is actually keeping you stuck. In practice, this is procrastination. This is going back to that shitty ex, a fear of being seen, imposter syndrome, over-explaining, or never saying anything at all because you're afraid you're never going to get it right. These are all ways we can self-sabotage in our own lives. Why does success actually feel unsafe? Well, it goes back to 4 main fears. Number 1 is the fear of visibility. If people can see me, people can judge me, which means people won't like me, and I will constantly be misunderstood. And let me just say, this is not a silly thing to fear, okay? You are completely valid in this fear. Not to say that you should perpetuate it, but just to say that every single human on this earth has a biological need for community. Oftentimes, we subconsciously reject ourselves before other people can reject us, and we play characters in other people's lives in order to be accepted. You're not you, you're a daughter, you're a coworker, you're a friend. You will play roles in your life in order to get this biological need you have for community met. But sometimes, especially if you went through trauma when you were younger, whether you were bullied or you just went through a lot of stuff when it comes to your self-perception, you had to cover yourself in order to survive. So when you are actually yourself, it feels unsafe. It's like, okay, why would I care if you reject me? If you're not even rejecting me, you're rejecting who I was fake to you as. But what we really desire is we desire to be seen. That's the first one. And the second one, you have a crippling fear of change. If I grow, then I'm going to outgrow the people and places or situations I've become extremely comfortable in. Growth itself starts to be associated with abandoning people or situations in your life. It starts to be associated with this feeling of guilt that if I don't stay, then I'm not worthy. You might even find yourself uncomfortable because you're abandoning the version of yourself that you've become so comfortable being. And this is because when you start to outgrow yourself, you also start to outgrow your excuses. Okay, you also start to outgrow the version of yourself that was okay with your own self-imposed limitations. Okay, you don't put up with those things anymore, but yet you feel so guilty for leaving it behind. You're faced with the uncomfortable reality that you've been avoiding. Okay, so you revert back to safety, even if that safety doesn't serve you, which brings me into number 3. You have a crippling fear of failure. If I really try this thing and it doesn't work out and I fail in front of everyone, then what? Like, what is my backup plan? We are not as scared of failure as we really think. We're scared of the implications of failure. The failure itself isn't as bad. It's what we interpret from it happening. Because if I fail, I'm inadequate. If I fail, that means I'm incapable of this thing. If I fail, Other people are going to laugh at me, to humiliate me. It is embarrassing to fail. That is what we've been taught to believe. So instead of putting yourself out there and giving it your best shot, you decide, no, I'm not doing that. I would rather not even try than to put myself out there and fail and know that me failing is because I'm inadequate. Even if you're already feeling inadequate because you don't feel like you're doing enough in your life. And that's exactly why I say this is a mental trap when it comes to self-sabotage, because you're not actually seeing reality when you're in a state where you keep sabotaging yourself. I find it so fascinating how our brain works, because when we try to take actions that are based on avoiding a certain fear we have, we often end up confirming an insecurity or a reality that we don't want in our lives. Which brings me into the last one, the fear of responsibility. This fear is interesting because you desire success, but you don't desire the responsibilities that come with success. And a really common excuse that I see when it comes to fearing responsibility is someone will be like, well, New Year's was 3 months ago, so it's like, why would I even start going to the gym? These people will always utilize excuses because they're too late, when in reality, you can start at any time and time will pass regardless. You'll limit yourself because you don't want to learn the problem-solving skills that it would take in order for you to be successful at this thing. And what I want you to do right now is identify which of those 4 things is actually the reason you are self-sabotaging. And yes, all 4 can play a part, but there's usually one that's like an overarching theme, so try to find that thing. For example, I thought that my decision to continue posting under Improvement for Imbeciles, despite the fact that I desired a rebrand, was mostly like fear of change. Obviously, I don't want to change my brand and then have it not work, but it was actually fear of visibility. When I got down and started journaling, I was afraid of being seen as who I was becoming, in a sense, because I felt like change meant that I wasn't going to be relevant anymore, or nobody was going to understand me. And yes, all of those factors did play a part, but overall, I believe fear of visibility is the main reason why I continued doing what I was doing for so long, and also why I took such a huge break from posting on Spotify, because I just felt like, well, I don't really know why I'm doing the podcast. Like, what's my purpose again? I lost my purpose, and I didn't want to lose my purpose, but I was so lost in my own mind and limiting beliefs that I felt like I wasn't capable of being who I was trying to become. When you've been through a lot of shit, and I mean a lot of shit, especially from a really young age, you can get caught in this mind trap where you feel like your experiences are something to be ashamed or embarrassed about, instead of something valuable that you can share to teach others. And I felt this calling that I needed to come on and share things with you guys. I wanted to share my experiences to help others who might be in similar situations know that they are not alone, and there are mindsets and habits that they can do in order to get out of that. And 2 years ago, when I literally just got off of work and would go in the parking garage and record an entire podcast episode after working a minimum wage restaurant job, I didn't feel like I had the authority to be like, yeah, this is what you need to do with your life. I still don't feel like I have the authority to do that. I'm just sharing my own life, but I'm done downplaying myself. I'm not stupid, so why am I calling myself stupid? And why am I allowing my brand to be centered around the idea of idiocracy? No, absolutely not. I saw my experiences and what I had to say as less than because I labeled myself as an imbecile from the very start, all because I was afraid of being seen. All because of my own limitations. That's self-sabotage. I would rather degrade my own intelligence and call myself an imbecile than accept my own wisdom and the woman I was becoming. I think oftentimes we're told to be humble, but there is a difference between humility and straight up self-dismissal. Sometimes what we often call being humble in society is just rejecting ourselves before anyone else can. Before anyone can come in and tell you that you're stupid for using your voice, before anyone can come in and invalidate you and make you feel small and make you feel worthless. Especially as women, we're taught to shrink. We're taught to be soft in our voice. We're taught to be relatable and not be too much. And for a lot of my life, I've been too much. I've been told, you are a lot to handle. And I know, but I'm tired of dumbing myself down all to be relatable. If you keep self-sabotaging, this is a safe space for you, but I also don't want you to continue self-sabotaging, and I don't want to enable you with my content. And I'm doing it because I wish I had someone in my life to go, knock it off. Okay, get off your ass. I wish I had someone in my life to say that. That's no BS Nat. Yeah. So here's how I want you to reframe it. Okay, if you're like me, if you're not living up to your potential, because this is actually the start of me living up to my potential. But here's what I'm doing differently now and what I want you to start doing differently. Number one, notice your patterns, okay? Notice why you go back to certain things. Something that I've learned is that before every single breakthrough, there is always temptation. There's always temptation to go back into old patterns, to go back to the old version of yourself. Acknowledge it when you are in that moment because awareness is key. I like to describe awareness like a mosquito. Okay, you have three choices when it comes to being aware of a problem. Awareness is like a mosquito. If a mosquito comes and lands on you and starts sucking your blood and you're unaware of it, well, you don't know that it's sucking your blood. But once you become aware of the mosquito, there's a couple of different options. You can shoo it away and it can keep coming back to you. You can sit there like a psychopath and watch it drain all the blood out of you, or you smack it. Okay, those are your three options. And it's the same exact thing with awareness, okay? When you become aware of something that you've been unaware of, it might take a few tries for you to actually get that mosquito, and kill it, right? But you are still trying to kill that mosquito. Don't just sit there like a psychopath as you watch yourself self-sabotage, okay? I've been there and I've done that. I've been the psychopath looking at the mosquito soaking my blood, like, ew, ew. I know that's a really nasty analogy, but I feel like it's so good when it comes to awareness because you can't fix what you're not aware of. Which brings me into number two, get comfortable being seen. Allow visibility to feel awkward at first, okay? And also see yourself. I don't think a lot of you take time to really look at yourself. And I'm not talking about introspect and critique yourself to hell. I'm talking about genuinely acknowledging yourself. You see the effort you put into things. You see everything you've been doing in order to get that goal or that reality that you desire, okay? You see everything you're putting into this new reality. Give yourself that credit before trying to seek it out through others. Number three, redefine what safe means. So oftentimes, especially if you grew up in a very tumultuous house, your nervous system actually associates safety with familiarity, not safety with actual safety. So if chaos is familiar to you, then peace will feel extremely uncomfortable. You might self-sabotage in moments that are peaceful and mistake it for boring or wrong, all because your nervous system hasn't relearned what your definition of happiness is. This is exactly why people who are used to toxic relationships will get in a healthy relationship and self-sabotage it. They will become the problem because they're so used to chaos that they can't fathom the reality of someone not cheating on them or not treating them horribly. They assume malintention when none exists. Once you're aware of it, breathe through it. Understand what's going on inside of you, okay? Journal. And in those moments where you feel the need to go back to what you used to do, remind yourself why the old pattern hasn't been working. Number four, celebrate your wins, okay? If you have wins, even the small wins that you have every single day, celebrate them publicly and privately. When something good happens, don't downplay it. If someone compliments you, don't be like, oh no, sorry, whatever. Say thank you. The more that you accept good things and acknowledge yourself for things that you are doing right, the safer that success starts to feel because your brain starts associating that action with positive recognition. Number five is to create the structure that supports your future self, not hinders it. And this is a lot about accountability, okay? Having systems in your life, not goals, is so important. And I will be making a revised podcast episode going into exactly how to set up systems in your life that actually work, especially if you have ADHD, okay? I'm a full-time college student. I have a lot going on in my life, and I'm still trying to figure it out, okay? Some of the systems that people say work haven't worked for me, so I can go over my method. But having a journal, making sure your calendar is organized, keeping up with those small systems in your life is so huge. Oh, and also there's a free life audit over on natalieetched.com if you guys want to go ahead and grab that. It helps you identify what the problems are in your life to set those goals over time. And I am running a special deal right now on my 21-day devoted challenge where you can get organized in your life. There's daily videos and guided worksheets for you guys in order to actually level up and take things one day at a time because Rome wasn't built in a day. It's $21 with the code 21days over on natalieetched.com. Last but certainly not least, find people that can hold space for your success, okay? And this might take some time. But just remember that it's so important to be around people who actually care about you. It's better to be alone than in bad company. So if you have to go through a purging period where you're cutting a lot of people off, or maybe you're in that period right now, don't feel guilty about it. Accept the season that you're in, and also put yourself in situations where you could find people who celebrate you and keep those people close. So to make things perfectly clear, the way you stop self-sabotage is by actually understanding the why. Identify the fear you have on being successful, because when you can identify why you are fearing this type of success, you will be able to work backwards. If I want this type of success and I fear it so heavily, what version of myself do I have to be to get to that next level? At least that's what I'm doing with No BS Nat, because I finally feel comfortable to step into the version of myself that I've been planning. So this episode is for the people whose success has never felt truly safe with. You deserve success. And I'm not saying that because you put in the work for it. I'm saying that because you deserve a good life. And your brain constantly looks for confirmation that you deserve a good life. The confirmation is that you exist, okay? You are here. I know that might sound cheesy, but like literally you exist, your life matters, and you deserve to feel good about it. So instead of getting stuck in a feedback loop, let's learn to do things different this time. Be sure to check out my Instagram at mylifeasetched, that's ETCH, as well as my TikTok, Natalie Etched, and leave a review over on Spotify. That does mean a lot to me, but if you're watching over on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe, do all of the things, and share this video with someone who needs it. I love you guys so much.